Hello and welcome to the Curator Salon podcast. I'm your host, Geeta Joshi. If you've been following me on Instagram, then you'll have seen that I have been promoting a new program called Gallery Ready. Gallery Ready is all about helping artists get that gallery representation. It really answers the most common question I've had all through my life in art, which is how to find a gallery to represent you. So I used to have a workshop when I ran the gallery space in central London called Getting Gallery Ready, because I would have so many submissions from artists who were just not the right fit. They were asking for representation too early in their career. There were all these other things that they didn't really have in place, like a body of work or a record of sales or a strong online presence and all these sorts of things. So I used to run this workshop that was called Getting Gallery Ready. And to be honest, the book, Show Your Art, was very much about that. It was, how you can really bring yourself up to have a better presentation, become more professional, build your own audience, and then become a much better proposition for a gallery collaboration. So the question still comes up, how do I find a gallery? How can I get a gallery to represent me, show my art, sell my art? And I have put together a free PDF for you, and you'll find the link in the show notes for that. It's called An Insider's Guide to Gallery Representation. So you can go ahead and download that and tick off all the points, and then you'll know what you need to have in place. So let's go through some of the most common things you need to have in place before you start approaching galleries. So a track record of sales. It's really about knowing that there is a market for your work, remembering that galleries are in business and they really only want to invest in artists who have a strong body of work, who have some proven track record of sales. There's a known audience for that artist's work, all these sorts of things. And, having an audience, growing that audience, should all be growing your mailing lists and your social media platforms and audience and all those sorts of things kind of couples in with that. Now, when it comes to your pricing, remember that galleries are going to take somewhere between 30 to 70% commission, usually hovering around that 50% mark, which is what most people will have heard about. So with that in mind, it's worth thinking about your price point. Are you happy to take only 50% of the sale price of your artwork? Are you comfortable with that? So this is a really important thing to factor in, because if your work is just in the hundreds and it's their original pieces, the time it's going to take you to create new work and really kind of be adequately compensated for your work when you're only getting 50% of what your sale price is, this could be a bit of an impediment for some artists. So you want to be making sure that you are happy with taking 50% of whatever your sale price is. So if your work is $5,000, then are you okay receiving only £2,500 euros for it? One of the things I do want to point out here is that, if you are going into your first gallery relationship, then you do have a lot of influence and power, right? Because without artists, there are no galleries. So of course the artist has way more power than they think. And one of the things here is about setting your prices. You get to set your prices. You get to know what your retail price is. You get to try that out on your audience, the market, and know that that is the right price for you. That's the price that you can energetically actually get behind, and people are feeling like they have bought an artwork that is worth that amount of money. The next thing I want you to keep in mind as you think about seeking gallery representation is really understanding that they're not going to take over the whole management side of your art business. That responsibility still stays with you. Nobody is invested in your art business more than you should be. And I think sometimes there's this idea that working with a gallery, the artist can give up on social media, they can forget about growing their audience. And none of that is true if you really want to build a career out of this and continue growing that audience. Down the line, you might work with multiple galleries. And so you're still going to need this audience. Perhaps you even need these other ways of selling directly to your audience. And that is coupled with the gallery representation. It's not a standalone thing. And I think sometimes for early career artists, galleries that are asking for representation on an exclusive basis can be a bit of a red flag. So knowing that you will still need to grow your audience, probably still have to sell directly to your audience, or, all the different ways that you might sell, maybe it's through online galleries, that all still gets to happen. That all still probably needs to happen if you want to keep making money from your art. So the gallery that you might start working with, they're not going to take over all of your marketing. And remember, a lot of galleries will work with several artists. If we look at some galleries, for example, and I don't really want to name any, but they will really only be promoting the artist whose exhibition they're currently hosting. And so that means all the other artists on their roster are not getting that social media real estate. They're not getting that mentions, in the gallery newsletters and the media and whatever, right? They're just doing it for the artists who are in the exhibition that they have at the moment. So also when you're working with a gallery, it's worth knowing that you're going to have these fallow times when you're not their sole focus. So I just really wanted to keep that, bring that to mind as well. However, I know it sounds like I'm putting all these sort of discouraging items forward for you to ruminate on, but it's really important that, you go into these collaborations with eyes wide open as well. So you can go ahead down to the show notes and get the PDF, and I will be back with another podcast on this same topic in the coming days.